Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. On this episode, I have less than 2 weeks to get two Mustangs put back together for about a 1,000-mile road trip that they're going on. In this, oh, that? Don't worry about that. It's just like spring cleaning for your engine. This is fine. Okay, let me bring you up to speed real quick and we'll take you back. This is probably going to be a two-parter because that's how my life's going right now. Took the front bumper off the wife's Mustang to Mako and got it painted because it was all scratched up and there was some big chips right here that I kind of tried to fill and blend. Failed at that. I'm not a paint and body guy. So here, luckily, these guys are already pseudo rebuilt. So you got those, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, not so much that. That has to go back on my Foxbody. So let's take you back and show you how we figured all that out and tore it down. So this is turning into an episode of Science with Bryce and Roni. What do you think about that?
Awesome.
So I tried doing this myself last night. I didn't have enough hands. So we've got this set up. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Okay. So we've got one injector in my contraption. We've got the carb cleaner and we've got the battery. So let's give her a go. I'm going to have you trigger the battery, okay?
Me?
Yeah, it's not going to zap you, okay? So this gets... Oh, dang it. No, it won't stay.
Why are there those... What's that?
To make it longer. Okay, so Roni, what you're going to do is hold this battery, and when I tell you to, you're going to click this real fast like this. Hear the clicky noise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is it making that noise?
Because it's making this injector open and close. So
see.
You can't see it. So take the battery, hold on to it, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wire come undone. And then you're going to take this wire. Let me get it better.
Baroni, whatever you do, don't touch that, okay?
It won't zap you.
No, just joking.
My generation, we used to touch those to our tongue to see if they still had juice. That's why we're a lot tougher than your generation.
I still do that. I do it with the big spring batteries.
So actually, can you hold your thumb on that guy? Or finger, that'll work. Just don't touch your finger to the other one.
Okay.
It's getting kind of close there. Okay, let me pressure it up first and let's see if it's going to leak. Oh yeah, it's not good.
Uh-oh.
Okay, tap it. That should be able to take like 60 pounds of pressure on it without leaking stuff out. Okay, here's take number 47. That first injector was just peeing fuel the whole time. I don't know if that's because you're not supposed to flush them backwards or if that was one of the ones that was already leaking and it's just cooked. So, are you ready, Roni?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay, stop for a sec. Okay, now pulse it. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going until it runs out. Keep going. So that one is holding and coming out clean. Okay, stop. Okay. I'm gonna unplug it. And let's try another one, okay? I don't know if, so that one over there we're probably gonna end up replacing because I don't know what the deal is, but it's leaking like a sieve.
What's a sieve?
Something that leaks a lot. Okay, we'll try one more, randomly selected, and then we will, don't need to bore you with the rest of them, but try to figure out if we're only getting a new injector or two, or if we're gonna end up scrapping this plan and getting all new ones. Go! Stop for a second. Okay, go. Keep going. Okay. So that one seems good. Let me get a better view on this and we'll do one more. Okay. Keep going. Okay, 7 out of 8 injectors came out good. Here's the one that did not. So soaked it again overnight in the Berrymans, and we're gonna give her another shot. See what we get. We slowed it from leaking like a sieve to a slow kind of dribble, so that's good. But now after it's soaked, we're gonna hit it with the air first, and then hit it with some the spray carb cleaner and see what it do. Worst comes to worst, I might have to find a used injector and clean another used one to use. Okay, here goes take 2 on this guy. Are you ready, Bryce?
Yeah.
Don't do it yet though. I'm gonna get some air pressure on it and then I'll have you go. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Go. Yeah. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, it's not leaking yet. Okay, tap, tap. I think we're good, dude. Elbow 5. Okay. There's one science project down. I'm going to blow out the inlets of all of these with a little carb cleaner, blow them out with a little air, and then we'll be ready to assemble. Just going to show you how to do a couple of these. Almost out of battery on the camera here. So, got my cleaned injectors. That last one did come around with another round of soaking overnight and cleaning. Got some pick tools, injector rebuild kit, and I have a board here to push the filter against. And yes, I know the board looks dirty. I put some clear tape on top of it. Okay, you can see my nice shiny tape I got on there. So this is how we do the top. I'm going to do the top part of all of them. And I'm going to figure out a better way to put these pintle caps on because I cracked both of these. I think they're still going to stay on there just fine, but we don't want to do that if we can help it. Going to take my little filter basket and I'll start it with my finger. Put this on my board here and get it pushed, and then just going to tap it. Just give it a little tappy. There you go. And then the top gets an O-ring. Just pops on there. Make sure you lube them up before you put them in the fuel rail. So and then we get a spacer, O-ring, and these just slide on there real easy because that pintle cap is what holds them on there. So I'm going to get all of them to this stage, then we'll figure out a better way to put these on. I think I'm going to heat them up just a little bit with the heat gun and just push them on there, because as you can see, if you, let's get those guys on there, if you try to just push them on there, they don't go. They're a real tight fit and they kind of snap into that groove. Also, before I throw this away, this, well, not so much that, but that is all the crud that came out of those injectors. Okay, real quick before you throw the intake back on, some things to think about replacing. Heater hoses, and also these EGR cooler hoses here and here. So I replaced all of those. Also the PCV hose and grommet, which is back there. So I think we're just about ready to throw the intake back on. Well, it started running good enough to blow some rust chunks out of that tailpipe. So, not perfect, but she's running better. So let's try this again. That cylinder is still not making power. That one's not great. I wonder if we should check the firing order, he said to himself out loud. Okay. Now that the Mustang is running well enough to idle somewhat steadily, the vacuum gauge has revealed some bad news. So it's a pretty steady flutter. If you know, you know. That's not good. So we're gonna warm it up and then we're gonna do a compression test and we'll see where we go from there. So got all the plugs out. We're just gonna go ahead and run compression on this whole side. So here's number 4. Here's number 3, which is definitely fuel soaked. Whoop. Number 2 and number 1. You can see that number 3 definitely looks different than all the rest. So, okay, 1 and 2, both 120. Okay, here's number 3. Go! Stop! Well, that's not surprising. It's about half, less than half of the others. Disappointing but not surprising news from cylinder number 3. So, we're gonna put a little sploosh of some 10W40 in there. Hopefully I'm making it into the spark plug hole. And we're gonna let that marinate for a minute and then we'll try again. And then we'll run number 4 and then we will probably take the bore scope and peek around in there a little bit. This is probably why it got parked in the first place, and these are one of the other things besides the mouse stuff that people don't tell you about. Is that you may get it running after it's been sitting and find out it runs like crap because the engine needs rebuilt. Okay, we worked the oil around in there a little bit and we're going to give her another go and see if it changed. Now, if the compression comes up significantly, that means the problem is in the cylinder and the rings, as far as the rings not sealing, because the oil will fill in scratches in the cylinder wall and it'll help the rings seal better. Now, if it does not come up at all, that means the issue is in the heads and the valve sealing. Okay, well, she did not come up hardly at all. The weird thing is it started poofing smoke out of cylinder number 4. Like somehow the oil got in there. Okay, here's number 4. Go ahead. well, that one ain't good either. Okay, you don't need to, you can let off the throttle. So those two cylinders are not making enough compression to make power for sure. Normally the next step would be a leak down test, but I think what we're gonna do is get the bore scope and peek around in there and see what we can see. Another sign that your engine is maybe not the healthiest, go ahead and crank it over. It was kind of hard to see on the video, but that is compression poofing out of the oil filler. So I'm thinking she's probably just slap wore out. I mean, 167,000 miles on a Mustang, on a 5.0 Mustang, those are probably hard miles. Okay, so now it's time to have a bit of a cry. I know. This ain't that big of a deal. You're thinking, oh, just build the engine. Well, we are scheduled to go on a trip, an epic vehicle trip, which there'll be video of, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you know when that video comes out. We do a yearly family car trip with all our old cars. This year it's going to be epic because it's not going to be a little day. It's going to be a multi-state, multi-day adventure. And everybody's reviving their old junk and bringing it. I'll bring it back when we get I'll bring it back when we're tearing down the engine and getting a look at this one to see how good it is. Time to film here, but this is just gonna have to be a bunch of time lapse. But we are about to get the intake off and then the heads. Rushing against the clock here for rain, aren't we, Roni?
Yep.
So we're gonna let everything's all off to take the intake off, and we're gonna let Roni be the one to pry it. So let's go with water pump to thermostat. You think that's dangerous? Okay, can you grab on the bar? Now, we're not gonna yank. We're going to just steadily pull a little more pressure and a little more, okay? Go ahead and give her a try. You probably need both hands. Let's try to not smash this though, okay? Okay. All right. This. We got to make it pop up so that we can take it off. Are you pulling? Oh, it's making a noise. Keep pulling.
Hopefully
It's moving.
Hopefully I'm not breaking.
You're not breaking. You're doing great. Keep going. Okay.
It was against this.
Now, hold on. Where's my big screwdriver? Okay. Pull up and hold on it again, and I'm going to pry right here.
Hit on it.
Okay, do you think she's ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's freed.
It's still stuck at the back. Let me see that guy.
Grab bar. I want this one.
We're just about ready to pull the heads off.
Oh, sweet.
Not these heads.
Have you heard from your mom? That was a brand new shirt and you're going to get grease all over it.
Why don't you make him take it off? Take it off, white boy. Think I'm gonna need a pry bar, or you think she's gonna come right off?
Come right off.
You cheated a little bit, didn't you? Oh! Okay, so, yep, oh, that is no bueno. So that's where it was blowing. That almost looks like mechanical damage. It doesn't look like it cooked. So what the heck? I mean, it looks like a otherwise 170,000 mile engine. Okay, here's a tip for you Ford fans. If your smog pump has been deleted and you want a cleaner way to cap off the ports on the back, 5/8 coarse thread bolt, I believe it's 11 thread pitch. You may not think there's threads in there, but there is. They're just gonna be all carboned up. So if you don't need the plugs for the front that take threads for accessories, 5/8 bolt. This is the shortest I could get. I think it's 1 inch. So I'm gonna thread a nut on there, cut it down as short as I can, and yep. And go ahead and thread it in there flush with some little bit of silicone on it. It's a little bit of high temp silicone. So the upper longer cylinder head bolts that go under the valve cover just get a little oil on the threads after a good cleanup, but the lower bolt go into the coolant jacket. So on the threads and just under the head I use Permatex thread sealant, which is basically liquid Teflon tape. You use it on fittings and stuff like that to keep them from weeping. You can just use, you should at least use anti-seize because the bolt can rust in the coolant and then break off when you try to take them out, so it keeps them from seizing in there. I like this stuff because it's a little bit of sealer as well. It'll just keep them from weeping coolant, so let's put those in. Heads are all torqued. I didn't get it finished showing you that because this camera just decided to die. Oh well. So I kind of cleaned out the intake valley, the lifter valley as good as I can. And of course we're gonna change the oil before we run it because we got coolant and all kinds of stuff in there. And this is kind of a waste, but here's a tip. I just got a quart of cheap oil and we are just gonna pour it all over in here to rinse any dirt or any kind of junk down those drain back holes down into the oil pan. So we'll do that before we put the intake back on, which we are just about ready to do. I've got my alignment pins in there, aka carb spacer studs. Okay, they work. So we'll pop some gaskets on there with some silicone and be ready. I am going to use the rubber or silicone end seals, which normally I don't recommend, but I don't have a good tube of silicone, which I would normally just use silicone on the China wall. But we're gonna use those. This engine, like I said, ain't here for a long time. It's just here for a good time. You can see everything's clean. So my little tip is that you need to still put silicone in the corners where the head meets the block. Otherwise it can weep oil right there. And what we're also going to do is put a smear around the coolant ports because they tend to get pitted and I don't like leaks. Oh, let's just throw that on the ground. And then we'll just put a couple little dots of silicone on here to kind of hold those rubbers in place. And we'll bring you back when we're putting the intake gasket on. Camera died as I finished torquing the heads and putting all the rockers in and torquing them, but pretty simple. Basically, you want to lube both ends of the push rod so they're not dry on startup and gall up. The neat thing about Ford pedestal rockers is if you haven't machined heads, changed the cam, changed rockers, anything that would change the geometry, If it was right before, throw it back together, it'll be right again. All you do is torque these guys to 25 foot-pounds, and that's it. Now, why people don't like them is there's no adjustment. You just bolt them down tight, that's it. Your push rod is what sets preload on the lifter, which on Ford hydraulic lifters, you want 30 to 50 thousandths preload. That's the sweet spot. So, but it's a good thing I checked the push rods, because if you see that end there, it should look a lot more like that, nice and shiny, chrome almost. I had two of them that were a little chewy, and that's what happens when they're not getting lubed. Which I can see through that, so it should have been getting lube. The oiling for the rocker and the push rod and the valve spring all comes through the push rod. Let me toss those before I forget that they're bad. Couldn't help myself from a little bigger, better. I had these guys in stock, BBK chrome shorties. So we're throwing those on. I just got to cut some studs for them. And this is how you do the valve covers. High-tack gasket sealer. Glue them to the valve cover side, that way they stay on there, and then whenever you pull the valve covers off later, those should come with, and these rubber guys are actually reusable, and that's what the car should have had from the factory. It didn't. It had shitty cork gaskets, so somebody's been in there at some point. Who knows? This engine's kind of a mystery. This isn't the super right way to do this. This is basically if you're kind of road killing something back together like I am. This is how you do it. Like I said, that little guy over there is going to get built with heads cam intake for this car, so we're not too worried about it. Before I throw this valve cover on, I'm just going to pour a little oil in each of these guys to lube them. Not too much, much too much. Okay, so after I felt compression on my finger, continued cranking her over. Can you see that? We're right at 10 degrees before top dead center. So throw a new O-ring on the distributor and drop it in there. Okay, so we are about to, we're draining the oil on the Foxbody for the first time. Hopefully this is a lesson in why you change your oil after you've had the intake off, because I can already see antifreeze dripping out. Now, any water or antifreeze will be on the bottom because water is heavier than oil and fuel. So there's a little bit of antifreeze that probably got in there when I took the intake off. Hopefully this isn't a lot of more bad news. Let's see what we got. Boy, that oil pan is punched. Oh, no, I didn't even see any antifreeze. Just looks like black gold. Okay, so these are from the Foxbody. So if your drain plug washers look like this, they may have been just reused a few too many times. So stock up on these guys. These are the good ones. 1/2 inch. That's what the Foxbody and the OBS truck takes. So change them out when you're changing oil. Cheap prevention of an oil leak. What else was I going to show you? Oh yeah, if your oil plug sensor is leaking, they will leak out of here most times and need replaced. Parts stores usually don't have them. If you disconnect the wire, just the light never comes on as long as it doesn't ground out. Get yourself one of these guys. This is like a Subaru drain plug, metric 20 by 1.5. So there's an oil leak fixed. Also see new drain plug washer. And then just zip tie the wire. Yeah, of course it broke trying to take it out. I tried to be gentle. Zip tie it up somewhere out of the way, and we will call that later Josh's problem. Nothing? Come on. There we go. It's got a little hitch in the giddy up, which is not, I mean, it's got a little giddy up, which is not ideal. Hopefully we got all 8 cylinders. All right, let's plug the fuel pump relay back in and the distributor, and we'll give her a go. See if we got fuel pumpage. Oh yeah. Primer a couple times. Okay, here goes. Hopefully something. Cycle the key one more time. Ooh. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. Do we need a little more advance? What do we... Well, that ain't good. Stay. Gotcha. Stay. No. No. Come on now. I think she needs some more advance. So, and the exhaust sounds like that because the mid pipe still ain't bolted up all the way. Maybe we should do that. Let's do that. Severe exhaust leakage on this side. Sounds like at the header flange where it meets the head pipe. So, oh, we gotta go ahead and take a look at that. I was quickly throwing those on in the rain last night while my child was throwing a fit. So there's that. Seems to be running smoother. Vacuum gauge. You guys are gonna have to wait till the next episode to see that. She's alive. In the next episode, we gotta finish getting this thing roadworthy. And this one, because this is Sunday afternoon. Thursday midday, we are leaving on a 1,000-mile plus road trip in both of these cars. So I work the next 4 nights. So I will have I work 12-hour shifts the next 4 nights. So literally the next 4 days will be working, eating, sleeping, and working on Mustangs. To see how that turns out, make sure you watch the next episode. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when that comes out. Next episode is part 2 of this debacle. And then we hit the road with some other classic cars and see some scenic sights around the Midwest area. So you're gonna wanna see that. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching.